This year, since April 15th, I've done a lot of new things. Not because I wanted to, but because we had to. And it's been a fabulous 5 months in a lot of ways. And I think Roseann is going to talk about it. And I think her overall message, will have to do with choices. And along with trying something new, you have choices in your life to make. And you can always choose the path that's right for you, or choose something new, or choose something and make it work. You have the option to choose to be happy, choose to be angry, choose to do things the way you want to do. But I think she's going to talk about how she chose to do things for herself after this accident, how to choose to get out of bed and do everyday life, and chose to do it with a smile on her face most of the time, and I think with real determination. So I bring you Roseann, my sister, and this is her first public speech. So.
When I was told that she was going to be introducing me, I thought that would be great. She should be tortured just like me by speaking today. And then I realized, oh no, she's going to cry, and it's going to make me cry. And I was prepared not to cry when I got here, and then it took me a little bit there. So I apologize for being a little weepy. I also want to say thank you for having me here today. People say that I've done well with public speaking on the news, this, that, and the other thing. And honestly, people are asking me questions, and I'm really just responding with my answers of what happened that day and since. So this is a little different. It is my first speech, as my sister said, and it's basically what has happened to me since April 15th, but I'll give it a go, and then I'll take questions, and whatever I don't answer in here, if you'd like to ask me, I'm more than willing to answer. So thanks for having me, and bear with me. So back on Monday, April 15th, Patriots Day, or as you all know, in New England we call it Marathon Monday. It really started out the same way that it has done for years. As kids, it started out the same way as it had done for years, basically trying on one outfit after another, getting ready for a fun day ahead. For many years as children, my sister and I would go with our father, and watch the Red Sox. And then when the game was over, we'd make our way down to Kenmore Square to watch the runners come in. And as the years have gone by, the tradition has remained the same, but it's changed a little bit, where instead of going with my father and my sister, I would go in with my friends. And at times, my mom would meet up with us, or as this year, my mom was going to take my nieces. And thankfully, they didn't come. But we would meet up at some point, whether it would be family or with friends, and basically, it moved closer to the finish line. This time, it would be on Boylston Street. So as usual, I went with a good friend to the ball game, and the luck of a beautiful spring morning, sitting in great seats, we bumped into some friends. As the afternoon came upon us, we were getting alert updates, as I had two friends that were running the road race that day. So we wanted to meet up with them, and again, the meeting spot was on Boylston Street. And that was our usual location. Still, that day seemed as normal as ever, and we made our way over after the ball game to Boylston Street, and we had purchased tickets to a fundraiser that was being held at the location that we were going. And we knew we still had some time, so we decided to go into the establishment and walk around. And we had received word that our first friend, Jen, would be coming down Boylston Street shortly, as she had just reached Kenmore Square. So we made our way outside and found a spot next to a mailbox directly across from the entrance to where we were. And initially, we were on the left side of the mailbox, and the runners were approaching from the right. But if anyone knows me well, I would really want to see my friend Jen coming down Boylston Street first. So I moved to the other side, and everybody else stayed onto the left side. And shortly thereafter, 3 more friends arrived, and they were excited they hadn't missed Jen yet. but there wasn't enough room for all of us on the right-hand side of the mailbox. So after a quick hello, we all turned back to watch the runners. Within minutes, the rest was history. My memory at Mass General was a little foggy because of the medications. What I do remember right from the beginning is that my attitude was a positive one. I think I shocked the doctor as he was explaining the initial amputation that he would have to go in and do final cleaning. He wasn't sure if he would be able to keep it below the knee, but I responded with one request, that no matter what he had to do, could he make the end of my leg look pretty, possible in the shape of a rose? And I do remember saying that, and for some reason, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea in my induced state, but it sounded pretty good. But this is how I've always actually lived in my life. I've always had a positive spin on a bad situation. We as individuals have control over our feelings and how we approach situations. That gruesome day, I chose to breathe deep and remain calm, and that is what I had control over. Don't get me wrong, there was a day or two that as they started to get me out off the pain medication, I didn't want to get out of bed, but again, I had the choice. I could lay there and be miserable, or take the other direction and get up and participate in physical therapy they were offering. Although each time was a major effort with just one leg, achy from operations and dizzy from being nauseous with all the medication, and a little off from loss of hearing, it did feel good to get up and moving. I realized that I enjoyed life too much to watch it go by from a bed, but still needed persuading to get going. As the time went by that week, many doctors were in and out, always saying who they were and what department they worked in, but to me they were all one and the same. I do remember, however, when one doctor came in and unwrapped the bandage from my right hand and said the words, "It looks good, no skin grafts needed." To be quite honest, I had no idea that my hand had been burnt. I had been focusing on the leg that had been amputated. It didn't even dawn on me that my hand was bandaged or that there was anything else seriously wrong with me. But just hearing those words made me realize that this was my first official day of healing. And with recognizing this, I did an assessment of what other injuries I had and told myself that as each one healed, that would be my recovery goal. Although we have limited control over how we heal, we can follow the doctor's orders and directions and hope to get closer to the goals faster. So that was my plan, and with every day that passed, I grew closer to another milestone or goal. Each accomplishment reinforced the positive feeling of healing. It didn't matter if the goal was as small as having a bandage removed or as big as getting staples out. And to be quite honest, getting staples removed is really a big deal for me. My sister can attest of how much a baby I am. So I even fear just getting paper cuts. So with that being said, each day or each milestone with that type of thing was really huge for me. But in any case, each step was working towards the ultimate goal of walking again, so I needed to be healthy for the fitting of my prosthetic leg. One of the bigger steps of healing was returning home to my apartment in the north end of Boston. I moved into my neighborhood about 2 years ago and knew I'd found my home. I would get frustrated every time someone had a suggestion of where I should go once I was released from Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital. I was determined to get back even though there were 18 stairs to my apartment in total. To me, there was only one answer. I had to work towards getting stronger to make the climb and live at home for a short period of time while I waited for the ultimate goal of the prosthetic leg. And while I was at home, I had many family and friends who would stay with me, so I was never alone day or night. I had already given in to the fact that I needed to rely on others, pretty much from the start. Thank you, Gia. Excuse me. This was probably one of the most difficult challenges to my recovery. As being single, I've always been responsible for my life. Having to relinquish it to my sister and 2 good friends was definitely a challenge, but I knew taking one step at a time, eventually I would regain this control. It was still overwhelming with so many hands involved. We all have our ways of doing things, and it is always easy to correct someone or tell them how to do it differently. What I had to learn is that no matter what, somehow my clothes would get folded and put away, and that the dishes would get cleaned regardless of how they were loaded into the dishwasher. A little bit of a control freak. This job would get done one way or another. Ultimately, it's important to ask ourselves, what do we want from life, and keep it in perspective, and what the ultimate goal and desires are, big or small. To get it all accomplished, they all get accomplished one step at a time, in my case, one day at a time. You as teachers have goals each school year as your classrooms fill up with new and hopefully eager students. Your goals may differ depending on what grade or subject you teach, but in the end it is still the same. You hope that the children walk away with a good education. It may be trying at times with all the young, aspiring personalities in your classrooms, but I bet you use the same technique that I did by just remaining calm and taking deep breaths. It really helps in any situation. Each lesson you prepare sets your goal for the class that day, that week, or month. Maybe the goals are obtained with high grades on tests, papers, or projects, but in some way you have an ultimate goal, and that is to get your students through the school year. Each teacher has a different way of using their skills to guide their students. It doesn't mean that one way is right and the other way is wrong, so long as you all reach the ultimate goal. One thing that I've appreciated with my experience is that I have not had to go this road alone either. My accomplishments, milestones, and goals have not been done on my own. There has been encouragement from doctors, nurses, physical therapists, family, and friends. Normally my nature is not to ask for help, but I've quickly figured out that in certain situations it's better to accept those offering assistance. Teachers have the same resources. It doesn't mean that one is smarter than the other, just that they can offer guidance. As the school year begins, remember that it is important to lead by example and work together and among yourselves as well as with your students. You and they will reach their ultimate goal, the end of the school year.